Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to talk about the news that recently dropped that the Black Adam movie is finally going to be a thing now. That, you know, there is officially a date dropped. I'll include an annotation to it. I don't remember the exact date, but I do know it's supposed to be in 2021. I think it was like December 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, for what I was reading. But this is interesting news in many different regards, because obviously, like, Black Adam is one of those movies that was kind of slated, like, back when the DCEU stuff, like, originally dropped, and obviously, like, their plans, because obviously it's one of those movies where it's like we weren't really sure where that was going to land, because like it was on the same list as like, oh yeah, the Joker and Harley movie and the Lobo movie and the Guardian Core movie, the Gotham Sirens movie, stuff like that. So I mean, which that doesn't mean none of that's still not planned, but obviously, you know, the DC, you know, EU, you know, has really, well, once again, DCEU kind of put quotes, because that's never really the official title for the cinematic universe, and if it even really is a cinematic universe anymore. Obviously Warner Brothers is still kind of, you know, trying to, you know, see where everything kind of lands. But this is kind of interesting, because now we're in this situation of getting potentially our second villain movie. I think that's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be the same thing as what we got with Joker in any shape or form, because I don't know if you can necessarily do that, because like obviously Joker in its own way was a very grounded story. It is just kind of like the story was told the way it was told. I don't know you can necessarily do that with Black Adam, but I think it's going to be interesting kind of getting another villain movie to see kind of what they do, setting that whole situation up, because obviously it's probably not going to be as deep and as dark as Joker was. I wouldn't assume so, because if you're unaware, Black Adam is connected to Shazam. I'm not that well versed into him, into Black Adam, but I've picked up some stuff here and there. From what I was kind of hearing and reading, like he started off as a pure villain, like, oh, he came to modern day time to face off against essentially Shazam, but now in more recent, I guess, iterations of the character, he's typically anti-hero, which I think that's going to be interesting to see what that means, because from what I heard also, like, he was supposed to be the cameo appearance in Shazam, but obviously it turned and made it a Superman cameo appearance. Spoilers for Shazam, sorry. But which I think I was even reading that they're not going, Shazam isn't going to pop up in Black Adam. I mean, I don't know, it might be like a last second thing they do, like it might be a cameo appearance, but I'm sure it's just focusing 100% on setting up Black Adam, because like I think his whole thing is like he's connected to like an Egyptian god, like kind of like how similar to like Shazam's powers are, because like Black Adam's kind of like that opposite to like Shazam. Like, you know, a great example DC wise would be like Flash is to Reverse Flash. It's kind of that similar thing. They got like similar powers and stuff like that. Their backgrounds are probably similar, but I think like wasn't it like he's an incarnation of an Egyptian god, or at least his powers come from an Egyptian god or something like that. So like I said, it's neat. For one, we're getting another obviously more magical movie in the DC universe, because that's something that hasn't really been touched too much. The more mystical side of things, like Shazam was the first introduction to that, and I think it's going to be neat for Black Adam potentially to kind of be set up as kind of like our first like magic villain. I think if you want to kind of think about it in a certain regard, I mean, I guess technically Mark Strong's character was like a magic villain of Shazam, but still, you get what I'm trying to say. And since I can talk about Shazam, I think that is kind of interesting, because, you know, Shazam is like the first movie in the DC movies that's a pure comedy. Like, whereas every other movie has comedic elements, Shazam was made to be a comedy. So I'm curious what that's going to mean for Black Adam, because I'm assuming Black Adam is going to be a very serious movie. Like I said, it depends on the approach that they decide to take with it. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of people, the thing that's really interesting to a lot of people is to see The Rock playing a bad guy, because typically he's the hero in like almost everything. So it's going to be interesting. And even if it is a thing of like, oh, he's an anti-hero, that's still going to be interesting to see him play a character that skirts that line, and, you know, like what makes him an anti-hero, you know, like what things he goes to that kind of makes him tilt that line, and what will be the eventual clash between him and Shazam. You know, I'm curious to kind of dive into that. Is it simply just going to be like, oh, I don't want anyone else out there with powers like mine? Or it's because Mark Strong's character was all about like, oh, get these powers, I was denied, but he's already got these powers. But is it going to be a jealousy thing, like, no, I want to be the only one that kind of reigns supreme, like a god or type of thing? I don't know. I think it'd be kind of really interesting to see what they do with it. The whole question then becomes like, is it going to be an R-rated thing? I don't think so, just because, you know, I'm sure people can make an argument that like if it was R-rated, it'd probably clash with the PG-13 rating that is Shazam. So I feel like those tones would clash when they eventually met. But I think it could be like I don't know. Like I said, I'm curious to see what they do, especially because a lot of the more recent DC movies have been like not like fully lighthearted, but they're not as like dark as like your Man of Steel's or Batman v Superman type of situation. Once again, I had no problem with, but I know it was an issue for a lot of other people, so I'm curious to see what they end up doing. I mean, I kind of would think we'd kind of get like a Man of Steel tone for Black Adam. Like I you know, it's a character I'm not that familiar with, so I couldn't tell you what the feel and vibe of the movie necessarily could be, because like I know the little bit I do know about Black Adam, but I don't want to know too much. I mean, it's like Batwoman. I looked up a tiny bit about Batwoman before the show came out, and I picked up some stuff here and there, but I try not to read too much because I don't want, you know, certain aspects of the show to get spoiled for me. So it's the same thing in this regard. But I think it's really exciting and interesting news to, you know, finally see this Black Adam thing after all these years finally kind of get started and everything, and you know what it potentially could mean for the future for, you know, Shazam, especially because it's interesting because you don't have to use a whole movie to introduce your villain. Your villain can have his own movie to introduce him, and then you can bring your hero and villain together. I think this could be a very unique situation that's really hasn't happened yet in any superhero movie, like a villain getting their own movie. I mean, depending on what they do with the whole Venom thing, I guess that could be an example. But other than that, like across the board, like this hasn't really been done yet. So I think Black Adam can be a very interesting case study, and like setting up like your villain, your hero, and get their own movie, then a villain getting their own movie, and then them coming together like that. So I think that will make this situation very interesting as well. Really quickly, going back to the tone conversation, it's definitely going to be interesting because like I brought up Shazam being a comedy, but when you actually look at that story, there is a lot of heart to it, especially because like a big theme in the movie is family, and I thought that was a really good aspect of that movie. So I'm wondering for the Black Adam movie, would they kind of shift that, maybe rather than it being like a movie about family, maybe it's about someone kind of embracing being alone, kind of like taking the opposite of the themes and aspect about Shazam and kind of shifting them from Black Adam. Maybe, like I said, I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I don't know. There was something that's just kind of floating in my head. So, are you excited about the Black Adam movie finally being a thing? Obviously, seeing The Rock in a superhero movie, obviously, even if he's playing a anti-hero, like, is that still excites you? Let me know how you're feeling in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, well, I to the fullest, enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.